Hi everyone, so I'm Julia, Nursing Buddy Jules. Let's first start off by why I chose LPN school. So I first was in a BSN program and I was having a hard time and I actually failed 2 classes by 0.1%. My school at the time didn't round up, so I was dismissed, and after being so discouraged about nursing, I decided, you know what, I think my next step is to go for my LVN. And although at the time I saw this as a failure, I see it as the best redirection for my career that I could have made. And I share this important part of my story because there may be people who have been in my shoes, and I want to let them know that, it doesn't end there. There are so many routes of nursing that you can go through. LVN or LPN really helped me build my foundation of knowledge, my confidence, my skill set, and I do not regret this pathway at all. And it also really helps you when you go for your RN, but you also don't have to go for your RN. Let's talk more about LVN school. I provided a photo of my prerequisites that I needed for LVN school. If you go for your BSN, it is essentially the same thing. You might just have to take a few extra classes or maybe retake some if they have expired. Also, Nurse.org has an article about becoming an LVN/LPN. When comparing the two, LVN to RN school, they both had their own unique sense of difficulty. So with LVN, a lot of things were brand new to me. There are diseases and medications I had never heard about, and trying to learn the best study strategies for myself was what made LVN school difficult. With RN, although I had LVN as my background and I understood concepts a lot better, it was hard in its own way because of how much in-depthness that I needed to have. Alright, now let's get into my work experience as an LVN. So I was an LVN for 2.5 years. I started off at the SNF and I worked every single shift, day shift, mid shift, night shift, and I was mainly on day shift. So my patient load was a lot. At the SNF, my patient ratio was 1 to 35. Yes, that is a lot. It may be different in your area, but that's how it was at my specific facility. Although I am really grateful for my first job because they really took the time to train me. I actually got 1 month of orientation and I was able to get trained on each shift just to see where I best fit. And some of my classmates actually got a lot less time than that. Some got like 3 days, some got maybe 1 or 2 weeks of orientation. And while working there, I was finally able to feel comfortable as a new grad LVN around the 6-month mark. So after the SNF, I went into school nursing, which I love. The kids are so cute. And I actually do both. So since I'm a per diem school nurse, I work through an agency, and you actually can still be a school nurse through the districts. And for me, I pick up either 1-to-1 cases, or I am the head nurse in the health office if they need someone for the day. Pros and cons of school nursing. If you love kids, but you don't want to work bedside, this may be the job for you. For scheduling, the hours let you see sunlight when you clock out. However, this also may be a con for you if you want that overtime, and there's not really a lot of opportunities for that unless you are required to stay after school for their extracurricular activities that need monitoring, or if you are going on a field trip, things like that. Another pro is that it is less stressful than bedside. It is a different type of stress, but it is a lot less stressful than being at a facility. Another thing that can be a pro and a con is that you are the main resource for any medical emergencies. So when those arise, you need to be on your feet, be able to think clearly, but you also can still ask for help from your district nurse or nursing. Calling from help from your district nurse or nursing supervisor, which I have through my agency. One last con is that you don't get to practice as much skills as you would bedside. However, you do still get exposed to G-tubes, trach, med-admin, first aid, diabetes, and seizure precautions, etc. It just depends on the student body needs at that school. And for me continuing on as a school nurse, I still would like to keep this as a per diem job, but I want more experience and more exposure for myself, so that's why I chose to pursue a pediatric residency at a hospital. You actually can work as a CNA in a school setting. It is tougher to find these jobs, and also just depends on your area and your state as well as the school needs. So if you're working in the health office, you'd be the health assistant. And if you were working in the classroom setting, you'd be like another teacher aide, probably one-on-one with a student, just helping with feeding and hygiene or toileting and other things like that. With my agency, I did have an orientation, and during that, I did get to practice a lot of the hands-on skills that I would need to know when working on the field by myself. However, I didn't have the traditional one-on-one preceptoring that you would get in bedside. I was still nervous, but was comfortable since I had my sniff experience before. But if you are still concerned and kind of nervous about going on the field on your own as a school nurse, I would suggest that you voice out your concerns with your agency or through the district and ask if you could at least shadow a few shifts before you start on your own. There are still lots of jobs that you can get as an LVN or LPN. I actually made a reel about it in my Instagram page, so I will put it in the next story. And for my pay, I was getting paid $24 an hour. I'm not too sure what my coworkers were getting, but I also didn't have any prior medical experience before becoming an LVN, so I'm thinking that also came into play with my pay. I've never had an interaction where someone has directly confronted me or talked down on me, thank goodness, but sometimes you do feel the energy of who likes you and who doesn't, but that's just life. Not everyone's personalities are going to click. You're not going to be besties with every single person you work with, and that's okay. But what's important is, can you work with these people? Can you guys work as a team and collaborate and reach out for help when you need it? And can you still work in this environment to be a safe nurse? That is the most important thing at the end of the day. While working as an LVN, I went for my bachelor's, and Nurse.org also has a guide about going to a LVN or LPN bridge program to a BSN, and I will link it over here. It took me 2.5 years. I did an accelerated program. I would have finished in 2, but I did take 2 terms off for maternity leave. There's not really a lot of things that I would change from my experience going from LVN to RN school. I think the biggest thing is giving myself more breaks. That's what I would have done. I was very studious, and yeah, it was cool to graduate with honors, but you really need to give yourself a break and have time to relax and recharge. And another thing that I'm like 50-50 about is I wish I had applied to a pediatric hospital just to gain more challenging experiences and to see what the dynamic is like in a hospital in the specialty that I really want to get into. Although I loved my school nursing job, it really fit and worked with my schedule because I could pick up whenever I was free. And I was able to at least have some experience working in the nursing role with children. So not really a lot of things I would change.